Om Vakratunda Mahakaya Suryakoti Samaprava Nirvignam Kurme Deva Sarvakaryeshu Sarvada. Welcome to the Vedic Transformation Podcast by Nepa Rudraksha. I'm your host Sukritya, and coming from a family with generations of expertise in Vedic science and practices, it will be a true honor as we together explore concepts from Sanatana Dharma, Hinduism, and Vedic science. In each episode of the podcast, we will explore these concepts, stories, and practices with an objective to apply these learnings in our daily life and bring positive, transformative change within ourselves. My goal as your host will be to explain these complex concepts in a manner that is practical in our daily lives. I'm always open for questions and recommendations. All the details about how you can reach me or my team will be in the description section of each episode. Now, without any further delay, let's start the show. Welcome back to another episode of the Vedic Transformation Podcast. In our previous episodes, we talked about what the greatest achievable is. We concluded how Shiva Yoga is the greatest state of achievement and discussed why you might already be seeking Shiva Yoga without conscious realization. Now, in this episode, we will start exploring the steps recommended to achieving Shiva Yoga. According to the Shiva Purana, the means of achieving the achievable can be broken down into 3 steps: Shravana, Kirtana, and Manana. In the coming episodes, we will dive deeper into each of the 3 means of achievement, but before that, let me quickly define the 3 means so that we all have a clear foundation. The first and the foundational mean of achievement is Shravana. Think of Shravana as the input of what you put into you. It might be listening or seeing visually. The second step, followed by Shravana, is Kirtana. Kirtana can be thought of as the expression state. It can be thought of as the action stage as well, of what you do with what you Shravan. The last means of achievement is Manana. Think of Manana as internalization of the learned concept and deliberation of the same. Now let's pause for a second to recalibrate what we talked about. We talked about the 3 means of achieving: Shravana, Kirtana, and Manana. But these 3, as you will see, are interconnected and almost form a cycle. You are in fact already practicing all 3 every day, but the subject of Shravana, Kirtana, and Manana for each one of us has varied, and as a result, the trajectory and progress of our life has varied. Let me emphasize here that these 3 aren't the final step, but are the foundational step. Every rite, duty, or ritual you have ever performed can be traced down into these 3 principles. In this episode, we will start with exploring Shravana in great detail. Let's start with a thought exercise about something that you're very familiar about: yourself. Let's imagine you. How do you know what you know? How do you believe what you believe? Or even, how are you? What has led to this? The first step of any human is to take in input from the surrounding. You are very much a product of your surrounding. What you feed yourself in the physical and the psychological level has one of the greatest impact in who you become. This is very obvious. We always see this concept being played and understood. We tell our children to get away from bad influence, not because of anything else, but because we fear that they can be badly influenced. Believe it or not, our human experience is gullible and we are very prone to being influenced. Therefore, the first step towards Shiva Yoga, or the unification with Shiva, is to understand the complexity and the significance of Shravana. What you see, what you listen to, and what you put into yourself at every second matters. And it should be a conscious decision. And don't get me wrong here. I'm not saying it is easy, especially today. We do not even seem to have control over what we see on our cell phone. Just for a second, imagine opening a social media app. Have you ever had control over what post you see to begin with? No. We cannot control the post we see When commuting to work, we cannot control the visual we see. At work, we cannot control the conversations we have. Even in the family table, we cannot predict the discussions we will be part of. So, Shravana is not about exposure. It is about being conscious to what you let in. It is to an extent that even our dreams are beyond our control. That is why the external is called Maya or delusion, because it is meant for distraction. It is designed to be this way. The key to Shravana is in the conscious aspect. Despite the thousands of interactions you have in a given day, what are the interactions that you are consciously taking part in? Or what are the interactions or external stimulus you value? This becomes extremely important. Imagine you as a house for a second and your mind as the gatekeeper. While there can be hundreds of people walking in the street, your gatekeeper needs to be very mindful of who they let in. Just imagine the chaos and the danger of letting in every person walking on the street into your property. While it is very obvious for us to want to protect or safeguard the material, when it comes to our mind, we're rather lenient. Don't you think it's quite shocking that we treat our very mind, the place where we live, as a public playground and entertain all forms of impulses, inputs with the same amount of importance? Shiva Purana, through the concept of Shravana, is asking you the very question and telling you that for you to get into a journey in attaining Shiva, you need to be mindful. Like I said, the concept of Shravana, Kirtana, and Manana are broad with multiple practices that can be under each of the three umbrellas. The key to mastering the practice of Shravana lies in being in control of your identity and who you are. One of the major challenges that people face is not being aware of who they are and who they want to become. To understand who you are becomes very important because only after an honest reflection of yourself you are able to identify what inputs you require. And this connects with who you want to become, because only when you have a clear view of who you want to become, you attract the thoughts, conversations, and visuals that help you become that. Therefore, when you are in control of your identity and who you want to become, you are able to control what you Shravana. There is a concept in science called the cognitive bias. It refers to a very similar concept of what we just discussed. The phenomenon of you starting to suddenly see more of your vehicle once you buy the vehicle is not random, but a result of your mind consciously or subconsciously filtering only the vehicles you are interested in. Shravana is the same. Yes, it is true that you cannot control what you see or hear, but you can control what you let in. Remember, you are the gatekeeper to your mind, and not just anyone is allowed in. Now that we have hopefully understood the concept of Shravana, let us here talk about a few Vedic transformation techniques or practices that helps you master the art of Shravana. The first practice is introspection. Introspection literally means internal inspection. You need to find time in your day to introspect. Introspection meditation is a form of mind exercise where you allow yourself an opportunity to get to know you. Through this, I want you to be able to dive deeper into evaluating what it is that you need and what you know you do not need or should not be needing. The best time to introspect in the Vedic terms is the Brahma Muhurta. Waking up earlier than the sun to meditate upon your inner self helps you build a deeper and stronger sense of identity. But remember, your identity should not be fluid. Introspection is not an exercise to know what you want, but to understand who you are. If we start analyzing what we want, our mind will start creating a shopping list in no time. But when we start introspecting who we are, we start to build an identity.
Introspection in the morning should be followed by remembering your ultimate goal of achieving Shiva Yoga. Remember that you are not satisfied or will not be satisfied with the finite. So you consciously choose to become infinite through your unification with Shiva. How do you remember Shiva Yoga? Through your prayers to Shiva, through your Rudrakshas, and through your japas, you remember that Shiva is what you seek. Therefore, through introspection and conscious goal setting in the morning, you master the concept of Shravana. Because now, throughout the course of the day, you realize that you control your thoughts and you control what you let in. This opens your door to Shiva Yoga and is the first step, followed by Kirtana and Manana. We will be diving deeper into Kirtana and Manana in our coming episodes. If you have any questions related to this show or any episodes, you can always reach out to us. Until then, thank you for listening and I hope you enjoyed this show. Hari Om Tat Sat.